Yo, what's up? Welcome to another build guide. So this is gonna be fire converted reap, so a fire reap in the end, a chieftain build guide. So first of all, I will just answer two questions that you are gonna ask. Can you play this build without Mageblood? Yes. Again, this is actually probably the easiest build to play without Mageblood that I put in this league. And there is also armor stack champion. You can obviously play that build without armor Mageblood, but on that build, flasks also provide DPS at the same time, also armor and DPS, you know. But for this build, again, we have granite flask armor, basalt flask armor. I don't even probably need that basalt flask, by the way, because physical mitigation is super high in on this build. I'm also gonna explain the reason. This build has more physical mitigation compared to most of the other builds in the game. So yeah, we are gonna come to that in a second. I have a ruby flask for less fire damage taken, because actually this is a fire conversion build at every part of the game, you know. Not only for DPS, the defense also comes from fire. So we are gonna take a look at those in a second. So mostly flasks are defensive. They don't provide any DPS actually. I believe one of them has a cast speed on it. So if you skip Mageblood, maybe you are gonna be less tankier. But build is already super tanky. 100% spell suppress chance, which you can do easily by using rare equipment. We are gonna do that. The build only has 2 unique items, by the way. So 90% resist. I'm saying resist because I only have fire resist in this build. My cold and lightning resist are minus. Yes. So we are gonna explain that again in a second. So I'm just gonna finishing the intro right now. More than 1k regeneration. Decent HP. I managed to go above 5k. It is actually a little bit hard to get 5k HP on most builds these days, but probably because Chieftain has some good notables nearby, let's say. So that's why you can easily get some decent HP on this build. If I have all my procs up, also with Battle Fate, I can easily pull something like 90 million DPS on this build. So the second question, is this build better than the Inquisitor Cold Reap version? Probably yes. So if you have a Marauder, just go for this one, because this one is probably, again, this is also tankier against physical damage, more tankier compared to most other builds, and also compared to Inquisitor, because Inquisitor doesn't have anything special about physical. So this build is gonna be probably more tankier and also more DPS, but most DPS is actually burst DPS. So we are talking about frenzy charges, because we are using Anomalous Blood Rage. Sometimes you don't even get those frenzy charges, unfortunately. A Battle Fate Flask, obviously. I have Focus Button with cast speed and double damage on my items. So we have 4 seconds window of time, so that also provides some huge DPS. And finally, because this is a Chieftain build, we have Namahu. I will just find it in my path of building. Where's that? Yeah, Namahu Flames Advance. Every 10 seconds, gain 100% of physical damage as extra fire damage for 4 seconds. So if you also have that focus on that exact 4 seconds, let's say, because it also lasts 4 seconds, I guess, you can pull off that 90 million DPS. But without those, you still have like 30 million, 40 million, something like that. So Inquisitor had something like 50 million DPS, you know, not the low life. Low life can go for like 70 million easily. So that's why in the end, if you can also manage to get those timings right, but you are not gonna do that most of the times, let's say, you can even have more DPS compared to that more defense. So this is probably better compared to Inquisitor. But if you don't have a Marauder ready, maybe you don't have to play this version. So let's start explaining the build. First of all, what is going on with the 90 resist and the minus resist? Let's just explain the conversions. So Chieftain has Tassalio Cleansing Water, 100% fire resist. This is gonna be easier to keep your fire resist even without Mageblood. Physical damage from hits taken as fire, so this is nice, because we will actually have 90% resist in the end. So that means that physical damage from hits will actually get mitigated from 90% damage reduction. I'm also gonna get even more physical damage from hits taken as fire, by the way. We are also gonna get cold damage and lightning damage taken as fire. So that's why we want to just convert everything to fire in the end. So this also provides unaffected by ignite, which is obviously nice. So next piece, Dawnbreaker Shield. This shield has some random rolls. You need to get good one, obviously. Up to 20% conversion, again, for all damage types, not chaos. So first of all, you have to buy Cold and Lightning the maximum roll. Otherwise, your conversion is gonna be something like 99%, 98%. So you are gonna still get the 2% maybe cold damage or lightning damage. Because I don't keep my cold and lightning resist, you don't need to if you just do the full conversion. You might die to those damage types. So that's why you should definitely get at least 19% maybe cold and lightning conversions. 20% is the best one, and that is the thing actually you need to buy. Maybe use Divine Orbs or try to go for that maximum roll. Physical damage taken as fire, that is also nice, even more defense, but mine actually had 13%, so not even max. And I could still tank Uber Shaper Slam. That is the highest damage ability that I know actually right now in the game. That just one-shots any normal armor builds, by the way. Even an armor stacker with million something armor gets one-shotted by that. Because armor alone is useless in this game. By this method, you can actually mitigate the physical damage and all the other damage types with 90% reduction. Obviously that goes for regular resistances. If you maybe have a Melding of Flesh build with fire, cold, lightning as 90 resist, you know, whatever. This build obviously doesn't use Melding of Flesh because it makes no sense, because we just focus on one resist anyways. But let's assume you are playing a armor build, 100k armor maybe, only have like 3 endurance charges and that's it. That build is not tanky against physical damage compared to this build, because that build doesn't have 90% damage reduction against every kind of hit. This way you can actually have 90% resistance against that physical damage taken as fire, you know, if you do that. But it's gonna be like 60% of the damage because I don't have fully converted physical taken as fire actually. But that way that portion always gonna get mitigated by 90% all the time. It cannot fail or anything. But on an armor build, even if your path of building says, on a regular build let's say, even if your path of building says you have 90% mitigation, that is a big lie. That is not how the game works against physical damage. So that is the reason this build is super tanky against physical damage. It is impossible to get hit by any physical damage actually. You can just face tank anything physical. So yeah, again, the same example. Shapers, Uber Shapers, physical slam, I believe. Yeah. It is a guaranteed one-shot for regular builds, but this build can tank it. Even the middle area, that is the guaranteed one-shot zone actually. I believe the outer section of the slam deals less damage because I can actually tank that with my Inquisitor build, but he gets one-shotted from the middle area, but this build can tank everything. That is all about the mitigation, those kind of stuff. And what is going on about this shield. And one final item, no, 2 items, yeah. One of them is Little Pride. With Rakiata Commander, you need to get Rakiata. This actually converts the nearby keystone to Tempered by War. 50% cold and lightning damage taken as fire. So this is where comes the rest of the cold and lightning. And there is one final thing, because we still need 20%. Sublime Vision, Jewel. I believe that's the name. I'm still trying to find it in my path of building. Yeah, Sublime Vision. Cold and lightning damage taken as fire while affected by Purity of Fire. Auras skills other than Purity of Fire are disabled. So this means that you can only use Purity of Fire as an aura, but because it says aura, you can still reserve buffs. So this build still uses Herald of Ash, physical extra fire, obviously nice. Herald of Purity, more physical damage, which is obviously gonna get converted because this is a conversion build. And I believe I also have Blood and Sand with the quality. The picture is probably on the screen, but I'm still trying to find it in my path of building. Divergent. Spells have area damage and area of effect. So this quality is also nice. I also used enhanced support on this. It also rises fire divergent, so that is a good setup. And also Blood Rage Anomalous for even more frenzy charge generation against single target. That is the reason you may wanna get Blood Rage Anomalous. But because it has something like 4% chance, you can still sometimes miss those frenzy charges and the boss just dies. So yeah, the DPS sometimes is not accurate because of these reasons. So yeah, this is a good enhanced setup in the end. So this way, combining all of these items, I'm just gonna put the screens, pictures on the screen one more time. Dawnbreaker, 20% chance is nice, 20% roll. Plus Little Bright for 50%, so that makes 70%. What was the other one? Sublime Vision, 30%, so that makes 100% total. And also again, Chieftain as Tassalio, but that is only for physical damage taken as fire. So again, if your shield has maybe 19% cold conversion, you will get that 1% cold damage, and because your cold resist is maybe minus, maybe you might die. I'm not sure, I haven't tried it. So try to get a maximum roll, Dawnbreaker, or maybe divine your own Dawnbreaker. You may need to burn maybe some currency on that shield if it is hard to find the maximum roll. But normally this shield is like 1 chaos, no one uses it. That's it about all these conversions, what's going on with this build. So because this is a Chieftain, we already explained Namahu. This has 50% physical damage convert to fire. The rest of the conversion is on the talent tree, Avatar of Fire. So total 100% physical damage to fire for your DPS, obviously. So this is a fire reap in the end. Also, if you can again maximize that Namahu uptime, maybe on a Maven invitation or something, maybe if you bother doing that, maybe on a boss, maybe Minotaur, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can just delete the boss even faster, combining with the focus button. Is there anything else to explain? I'm just checking the gems, maybe. Not really, because this build doesn't even use any auras because of the jewel. We obviously have Enduring Cry for healing, Shield Charge as mobility, Flame Dash as another mobility, plus Arcane Surge proccing, obviously. Assassin Mark is my curse choice. You need to apply that manually, or maybe if you know anything else, you can do that. I believe maybe you can also play with a Rare Ring with maybe Flammability or Elemental Weakness Curse. Maybe you might miss some DPS because crit is probably better. Even without the mark, by the way, I have 100% crit. Maybe you can use those kind of rings and do not even bother with manually casting Assassin Mark if you are fine with maybe a lower DPS. So yeah, that's about all the gems. Again, this is a reap build. You have to get Awakened Spell Cascade, which is 2 Exalt. It is still cheap. Even the reap is right now meta. This jewel is still cheap. I don't know why. So yeah, because this way you can actually cast 4 reaps at the same time and they actually overlap. So in your path of building, if you see something like 10 million, 15 million, whatever DPS, that is actually per reap. So usually 3 reaps overlap, I guess. It should be 4, but most people say it is 3. I have really no idea. You cannot even test this stuff in game because GGG, path of building, Path of Exile doesn't give us any support, any training dummy or whatever. So maybe 3 or 4 of them overlaps, I don't know. So that is how you can achieve even more DPS. So the DPS you are gonna see is actually per reap in your path of building. You have to type 3 or 4 whatever to the count section. That way you can actually see your full DPS. 4 reaps, 3 reaps, whatever. 50 million, 100 million depending on your gear. Alright, moving on with the gear section, we are gonna explain all the item. First of all, weapon. This is a self-cast build, so cast speed is super important. If you want even more DPS, you might also need to get some plus gem levels. So +1 physical or +1 all spells. Or you can get both of them at the same time. If you don't get +1 spell skill gems, your Purity of Fire might still need some levels maybe. So maybe you have to play with a lower resistance. Because if your Purity of Fire is not level 23, you miss actually some maximum resistances. So having a weapon with +1 all spell skill gems actually also boosts Purity of Fire, so that is actually important. Otherwise, you can get a corrupted shield with +2 aura gems, I believe, but you also need to get a maximum rolled shield with also that corruption. It is probably gonna be impossible to find that after some point, after the video is out, let's say. So you definitely need to get a weapon with +1 all spell skill gems at least. If you can afford it, also +1 physical at the same time. Then again, cast speed, spell damage, crit multiplier, or maybe double damage or double damage while focused. So these are the filler stats, makes the weapon even more powerful. Helmet. Enchant maximum blood charge, the best one for DPS. If you maybe need some, I don't know, you probably don't need anything else. You can also get maybe Reap Area of Effect. Maybe if you want to do more Simulacrums with this build, maybe Area of Effect can be better. But you can also use Exsanguinate on lower waves, actually, easier waves. But after some point, DPS is more important, so you may need to jump swap. So you can also use Exsanguinate on this build while mapping, because it has a better clear speed with chain support. So yeah, maximum blood charge enchant is better for DPS. For the stats on all of our rare pieces, we are gonna put spell suppress. That is how you can achieve 100%. If you maybe miss one tier or on one of your items, you can put a implicit on your gloves. But if you skip 2 tiers, maybe 2 lower tiers on a couple of items, you will probably have something like 90% something suppressed. So it is hard to cap that 100% because talent tree doesn't offer us anything Or maybe you can anoint something instead of a DPS anoint. So try to get that spell suppression on your items. Life. Resistances, maybe, but not all of them, because you don't need cold and lightning. If you don't have a Mageblood, maybe you need some more fire resist. After that, only chaos resist. You can get any resist and convert those to fire if you want, from TFT Discord, Harvest, want to sell, or maybe if you are doing Harvest yourself, you can just fix those items yourself. So in the end, your items need some maybe fire resist and also chaos resist. That are the two resistances that you need. Spell suppression, life, also some intelligence. So let's just explain the next piece first, so I can explain why you need intelligence. For the helmets implicit, obviously cast speed is nice, because this is a conversion build. If you want to be tankier, physical damage taken as fire damage, so you need to use those Searing Exile and Eater of Worlds currencies on all of your rare items. Actually, we are gonna use those on everything, so make sure you buy a bunch of these currencies. All right. So next item, let's just explain this so you can actually understand better. Leadership's price. If you already played maybe Reap, Cold Reap Inquisitor, you know what the deal is. So this actually lets you inflict Scorch, Brittle, and Sapping with any damage types. So more DPS, because those ailments actually provides huge DPS on any build. So Brittle caps your crit strike chance. Scorch actually lowers resistances on the enemy. Sapping reduces the damage output of the enemy, so you are gonna be tankier. So for this amulet to work, you need your highest 2 attributes to be equal. In this case, they are going to be strength and intelligence, because talent tree already has a lot of strength, because this is a Chieftain Marauder build. And we also have some intelligence, but the rest is gonna come with brute force solution jewels. We will convert some strength on the talent tree to intelligence with these jewels. You don't have to buy maximum rolls, you need to adjust your own character. One of my jewels has actually 24 intelligence, the other one has the minimum roll, 16. So in the end, make sure that your strength is actually same as your intelligence. I only use 2 of brute force jewels and some intelligence items on my a couple of my items. That's it. You want to balance those strength and intelligence, so in the end they need to be equal, so your amulet can actually work. All right. Make sure you also have Chieftain Ascendancy ready, because Chieftain also has 10% strength. Don't miss that and make any mistakes. Don't build your character on a Berserker maybe. Make sure your path of building has Chieftain. All right. So get that 10% strength from Chieftain. Don't make that mistake. While buying this amulet, you only need to buy a maximum fire resist. 3 obviously is the best. You don't have to worry about the others, because we are not gonna go for those resistances. So this makes this amulet actually very cheap, because if you just search for all maximum, you know, at least 1 or 2 or maybe even 3, those amulets are at least 10 exalt right now. But this amulet, this only has plus maximum fire res, the other ones are minus. This was like 1 exalt, even cheaper. That's it about the amulet, so you can even understand better maybe the next pieces or something. Gloves, again suppress. If you want more burst DPS, test and attack speed while focused. If you just search for suppress and this at the same time, there are not much results. You need to craft it later on. I just bought those suffixes actually. I just searched for suppress and attack and cast speed while focused. That's it. Then I used a Searing Exarch Orb, a bigger one, so I can actually make that dominant on the item. Then I used Eldritch Chaos Orb and re-rolled the prefix until I hit a good live roll. I also had some open prefix, so I put also some damage during flask effect. If your Purity of Fire still needs level, you can also put +1 AoE gems and put your Purity of Fire in this or in your helmet. That also has +1 AoE on the implicit. So make sure your Purity of Fire in the end is level 23. The gem is already 21. Your weapon will provide +1 all spell gems. And one of your items should have +1 at least. A helmet, gloves, or a corrupted shield. Next, what is... yeah, if you still need some suppression, that is what I did on my implicit, on my gloves. And finally, unnerve, that is better. Again, we use Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds currencies. You are gonna use these all the time in this build. Boots, suppression, movement speed, chaos res, fire res if you still need that, movement speed, yeah, life, that's it. This build is not ailment immune, we only are unaffected by ignite. So if you have an open prefix boots, maybe with life on it, you can put movement speed plus cannot be chilled. That is actually nice. I couldn't do that, I didn't bother with that, you know. But you can do that if you want to be against immune against chill actually. I also used Brine King Pantheon, so I was also frozen immune. For the enchant, damage penetrates, elemental resistances is the best. If you need more mitigation, maybe more healing, regenerate 2% life if you got hit recently. Again, use the same currencies, Searing Exarch, Eater of Worlds. Put action speed for even more DPS and speed. Or you can put chaos resist if you need that. For the other part, I put gain physical damage as extra fire damage. This is the best stat probably you can get for this build because this is a conversion build. So physical damage actually works for this build. Body armor, same, suppress. By the way, you need 1 dexterity on one of your items, so there are also rings, so you can also put that because it's gonna be cheaper. I was lucky and found this body armor and crafted it later on. If you want some DPS, +1 strength gems, that is the only thing that you can get actually, because this body armor also needs to be Searing Exarch and Eater of World influenced, because we are gonna put Purity of Fire effect and plus resist on the implicit. So maybe you can just skip that +1 strength gems if you cannot afford one. These kind of body armors are right now 10 exalt. So yeah, I just re-rolled the prefixes with again Searing Exarch dominant, fixed the prefix, put some life, maximum life, and then later on I crafted those Purity of Fire effect and max fire res. Right now I only have 90% resist near a unique enemy because I could get this actually. Otherwise you need to put a regular plus fire resist, maybe that also exists without the enemy in your presence thing, you know. But I actually tested the radius. Even if you don't see the boss, by the way, if it is on your edge of your screen, you still count it as you have a unique enemy in your presence. So the radius of that modifier is actually huge. So I just used this comfortably. So you can just craft this maybe if you are lucky, because this is, I believe, easier to get. This way it is easier to get 3% fire res. Otherwise you may need to use Orb of Conflict maybe if you want a higher fire res. Or maybe use at least 1 Megalomaniac Jewel and get some +1 resist as a notable on your talent tree. So you try to hit that 90% resist in the end if you want to be tankier. Finally, yeah, rings. Again, this build's best DPS stats are cast speed, crit multiplier, and physical damage as extra fire. Physical damage as extra fire comes from essence, so you may wanna maybe get some fractured items and use some essences. That is what we did on this piece, one of the rings. Physical as extra and cast speed, life. Non-channel mana cost, you only need one of these. You can maybe also skip, but this way it is actually easier to use your mobility skills because they will have even less mana cost. Easier to use your skills, let's say. But even without that, you can still play the build. It is not necessary, but definitely helps. At least one of those non-channel -7 or 6, whatever. And also, if you still need chaos resist or fire resist, you can also put those on your rings. Maybe balance those stats. I also put some intelligence and dexterity at the same time. So make sure your leadership's price amulet works. That's about all the items. Belt is again Mageblood if you can afford it. If you cannot afford the Mageblood, again, you don't need Mageblood to play this build. Mageblood doesn't make this build viable or anything. It is already easy to keep resistances because you don't even need cold and lightning res, by the way. So just use a rare belt, maybe a Stygian vise with life, maybe even percentage life on a hunter base or elder base. Put the missing resistances, and you can even put some damage on the prefix. So that's gonna be your belt probably. Yeah. Finally, we are gonna take a look at the path of building, and that's gonna be it. Again, we use some brute force solutions, so these actually convert strength to intelligence. So this way you can easily get that intelligence you require. I also used one here. If your items maybe have more intelligence for some reason, you can maybe skip one of these jewels and put some DPS instead. Again, the best slot for Unnatural Instinct for self-cast builds. You can just buy this later on, obviously, because this only provides some extra regeneration. And DPS, because you can actually get all these regeneration nodes. Because this jewel just gives you everything you haven't picked. So we get all these regeneration nodes, curse effect, physical damage, and cast speed. So that is a nice location. If you are lower level, or maybe if you cannot afford this, just skip this because it will also save you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. What else? What else? Some clusters, just usual physical clusters, because physical damage is nice for this build because we are gonna convert that later on. So physical damage again works for this build. This is a conversion build. For the mediums, basic of pain, pressure of pressure points. Just usual stuff for crit builds. Some double damage action, so you have more RNG for more DPS. This one has led by example and warning call. You can actually skip this. This is only for some onslaught if you Warcry, and also even more armor. If you have Mageblood, or maybe if you want to use a silver flask anyways, you can just skip this entirely and get another one of these for more DPS actually. Next, Little Pride, already explained this. This is the correct number. You can just buy this if you can find it. I haven't edited the number. I'm just gonna share it this time. Because these kind of builds, probably people don't play it. So there is nothing crazy about this. So this is the correct number, but you have to get a Rakiata. So you can actually get Tempered by War. This one had physical damage here. Physical damage taken as fire here for more mitigation against physical. Physical as extra fire, this is for DPS. And regenerate 1% life. This also has another... I believe I haven't edited that. There has to be another physical as extra fire damage, you know, DPS on one of these. But even if you anoint that with that notable in it, you know, that Little Pride, it is still worse compared to Discord Artisan. Because this applies effect of herald buffs. We use 2 different heralds, so this actually provides the best DPS. After that, there, I believe Heart of Flame comes. Yeah, this is about Little Pride. You have to get a Little Pride, by the way, otherwise you won't have Tempered by War and you are gonna die to Cold and Lightning. You have to get the conversion completed. Another large, same stuff. Another medium, same stuff. I'm not gonna explain those. I used, it is easier to find these here, Forbidden Jewels with Aspect of Carnage. So this is actually, these are, by the way, right now cheap. Total 3 Exalt. Because this gives you more damage at the cost of damage taken. This build is so tank, you won't even notice this. This build is only weak against, it applies for almost all the builds anyways, degeneration effects. So if Uberhelder has some shit on the ground, if Cortex boss has some shit on the ground, if Feared, again Cortex boss has some shit on the ground, you will notice that you will just melt, you know, your character just melts if you just stand in the shit. Reap also consumes life, so you will even have less regeneration if you just spam your Reap on a shit. So you will just lose lots of your HP in a couple of seconds. So don't stand on shit. That's the story of today. Watcher's Eye, this is again super cheap. You just want more mitigation because this is the only aura you have. Spirit of Fire, physical damage taken from hits as fire. If you also want to be immune to burning ground, this is a good combination because we are not immune to that, but you don't need it. This was super cheap, that's why we picked this one. You can just skip that and get only Spirit of Fire damage taken. It is like 50 chaos, no one buys these. So probably one of the cheapest Watchers I have ever used on any of my builds. And that's it, bye bye. Thanks for watching. You can become a Patreon member if you want to support my channel. I'm talking to people all the time in my Discord. If you have any questions, any build ideas, if you have any questions, whatever, join my Discord and chat with me. That is where you can talk to me. I have more guides coming soon, I hope. I noticed that more people realized that duelists need forbidden jewels. I forgot the name, Fatal Flourish or something, that lets you repeat attacks actually. So I noticed more people actually figured those jewels. I actually tried those maybe a month ago. So that actually works for all kind of attacks, even bow attacks. Yeah. So I am also thinking about doing a build with these maybe. If you have these jewels, maybe stock those. I'm not sure if the build is gonna be good or not, you know. I have seen Captain Lance put a video, I guess, with Blast Rain Trap. I forgot it. I haven't checked that much. So more people figured those out, it seems, these days. So maybe prices are gonna go up if I also make a build maybe with that. So maybe get those jewels if you have the budget. I believe I will have a duelist build if I can find something good. I don't promise anything right now. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you later. Bye bye.